But let's get straight into chamber. First, I'm sure Tilapia has a cartoon to show us about the state of interest had called the two political parties, the leading NDC and MPP, to come to the table to have a conversation and see how to find an amicable solution or bring an end to violent vigilantism, failing which he would have to institute legislation. Sometime, 2 weeks ago, he asked the Attorney General, Madam Gloria Kufu, to prepare legislation because the parties had failed to have that meeting. He gave them a 1-week ultimatum. So as we speak, we should guess that the legislation is on. We'll have a conversation with lawyer Justice Abdullahi of the Crown Legal Bureau in Accra. But first, take a look at Tilapia's cartoon on vigilantism. So you have on the screen vigilantism, political vigilantism. We're sitting on a time bomb. Yeah, right, we are. And the President of the Republic, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on one side, ex-President Mahama on the other side. He's holding on to a hawk and a bulldog, that's Azoka. And on this other side, the President is holding on to Delta Force and Invisible Forces. Ghana is in tatters. And it says, let's talk about these pets in inverted commas. That's the President. And then President Mahama says, well, talking won't solve the problem. What is it that will solve the problem? Let's turn our attention now to lawyer Justice Abdullahi of the Crown Legal Consult Council. Good morning. Thank you very much for your time. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my brother.
You look sharp as usual.
Looking very smart. It's lovely being with you anytime.
Great. Let's delve deeper into this issue of political vigilantism or thuggery, whichever way you want to call it.
Well, I prefer calling it terrorism, political terrorist. I think they fall short of nothing but terrorist, and in the sense that these are individuals put together by political parties who were supposed to have very good intentions, and yet they put together young men and women that they are supposed to be employing for good services to the nation, to unleash violence on innocent persons. In particular, the young man and the young lady who intend to vote for them is the one that violence is unleashed on. Some are shot dead, some are beaten to pulp, some are completely maltreated. And I mean, their conduct, their actions, their attitude towards this entire enterprise is nothing falling short of terrorism. Now, probably you may not see it on a mass scale because you see them more visible during by-elections and also during other elections, but not on an everyday basis. But terrorism does not really have a timeline. Once you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist.
The President had called on the two political parties to come to a table and to solve the problem, because we know that the parties, even though they have denied that they don't own any of these groups serve their interests.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the fact that the parties couldn't fulfill that 1-week ultimatum? They actually failed to be able to sit at the table. What do you make of it?
Truthfully, these two political parties do not trust themselves just the same way as we don't trust them. As individuals, as citizens of this nation, we do not trust MPP, we do not trust MPP. And of course, for a genuine reasons, because the two of them have demonstrated time and again that they are not the kind of persons that we should trust in any day for any reason, because they themselves do not even trust themselves. And so clearly, the President calling on the other side to come sit on the table. If I don't trust you, even the people that you're claiming to be serving do not trust you. And knowing the way these people use our security services against each other, none of them is indeed willing to abdicate, in fact, literally abandon the very people who protect them in the name of the Republic. Because they use these people for their own benefit. And so to now ask them to leave these persons to go simply because the President has called on them to do so will not be beneficial to them. And the reason is very simple.
Why?
Because while the President is in office, he has the protection of all the security agencies. And together with his political parties, they use them for the wrong reasons instead of using them for the professional reasons that they have been legally set up to do. And it's the same in the same vein. If the MPP was in opposition, they would have conducted themselves the same way.
Do we have enough legislation to deal with this? Now the President is asking that we put up legislation, beg your pardon, to nip this in the bud. Is it necessary?
It is absolutely unnecessary.
Why not?
Absolutely. In fact, it's zero. In fact, it's actually far short of being negative. I actually was wondering what the president was really thinking about at the time he made such orders for legislation to be passed.
Specific situations call for specific measures.
We have more than specific situations with more than specific measures in place as we speak now.
Guide me through.
Let me guide you, in case you just need any. But first of all, let me just give. You need to know that there are a lot of electoral offences that have been spelled out under our laws. A lot of them, multiplicity of them. Now, put that even aside. If you put that aside, almost every single conduct these political terrorists exhibit is frowned upon by one law or the other.
Right.
And so I do not see how a new piece of legislation is the way to go. It's as if there is a vacuum, there is some form of lacuna in any part of the law that allows these terrorist activities to thrive. There's nothing like that.
The current laws that we have, you are suggesting that,
like
it is able to stop
absolutely
political.
Now let's just go even one after that. Let's just pick each of them.
Right.
Well, massing up in a particular way without the authorization of the police.
The Public Order Act, that's it.
God bless you. That is taken care of. Now, let's go into marching to look at other matters. Beating up persons at those places is taken care of also by other laws. Killing and maiming people are all taken care of by several other laws. So the question is, which part of the entire conduct of massing up all the way to the day that you are able to unleash violence on people at the political stations or political police stations that is allowed under our laws, that you need a new piece of legislation to take care of? Which part of this? The entire process of the day you massed up to the day you completed even taking, let's say, pulling boxes, ballot boxes, and other things. Which part of this whole enterprise did not have vetted mind to the multiplicity of laws that are
What
available?
advice would you give the president?
Very simple and straightforward. First, to allow the police and indeed the entire security agencies to enforce the law. That's the first thing. To ensure that
the president has consistently told the police to act.
Yeah, but if
is it difficult?
You say one thing and then you do the other. I mean, how does it help in any way? They would always, the president might probably have a genuine reason to order the police to conduct their duties professionally. But the president works with people. People would call the IG, people would call the deputies, people would even call commanders and warn them, if you dare do ABC, I'll remove you.
Why is this so? Why is this possible?
It is so because at the very top, from the commissioner level to the IG level, there's a political influence as to who becomes a commissioner in the police administration. There's a political influence as to who becomes the IG and the deputy IG. And so really everybody also wants to chop. And no one would want to be sidelined. And so because of that, even where you are genuinely against the conduct of the political party, because he's your appointer, because he's your promoter, you'd have to give in to their demands. And of course, that is just one side of it. The other side is the professional conduct of the police itself. The police has a culture of respecting unreasonably people who have a prefix to their names called honorables. And so the moment somebody is on the phone and claiming to be an honorable, regardless of what kind of honorable the person is, the police has a culture of giving in to that person's demand. And at least we have very, very good example of Kennedy Japan's alleged slapping of a commander elsewhere. And only a statement is issued. You and I, if you had done the same, we'd probably be behind bars today. We'd be behind bars.
So you're saying,
so it's a culture, it's a professionalism, and all these would have to be taken care of.
Not to run the police down, but to ask the question specifically then, so what should the police do now?
The police should just be professional policemen and women. That's all they need to do.
But the control is there.
The control is there. It's visible. It is real. There's no dispute about that. However, you are a professional police officer. That's what my tax pays you to do. My tax does not pay you to cater to the whims and caprices of a political party. And so if I'm paying you to do certain things, and you have a constitutional mandate to do that, I expect that once you believe you're doing the right thing, go ahead and do that right.
What should citizens do at this point? We're talking about the presidency, the government, law enforcement agencies. What should the citizens do to stop vigilance?
You and I can do a lot by shouting, by screaming, by yelling at these persons, by putting them on their toes that this is what we want as a nation. What you and I are sitting here doing today, this education is what we need to be doing. We need to be, clamoring for. We need to be telling them in their faces not to be doing MPP and NDC rubbish with these things. We have to let them know that this is what we need. We need professional police officers. We need the hands of the president and his entire appointees off the back of the police, so the police can do independent investigations into particularly political crimes. It is the political crimes that are degenerated into what we have today. Really, because from the days of 1992, from Jerry Rawlings' time when they started as macho men doing these things, we have never seen a single prosecution of political crime in this country. Indeed, the president was in opposition. His party headquarters was attacked. At the time, they were yelling and calling for prosecution, investigation and prosecution. When they came into office, 2 years after coming into office, they've never been able to do anything about that conduct. They have never been able to identify the people who attacked them. They've never been able to investigate or even prosecute such persons. Now, if you do this, clearly, for me, sitting here, I feel two things. Either the political party that was attacked, being MPP, they had a hand in what happened, or they are just not responsible enough.
There's also the worrying situation of you pick up a political bigwig. They are invited to say the police headquarters to answer questions based on some utterances or things that they might have said or done. And you have political party activists and foot soldiers massing up in front of the police administration and asking that whoever is in there and is being questioned or will be charged be released. Is that the way to go?
That is pure immaturity of our political systems. I have never seen, what's this guy's name? Is it Netanyahu? It's President
Benjamin Netanyahu
of Israel. He's presently under serious investigations, indeed being prosecuted for all kinds of crimes. There's no single political person who follows him to court or even to the police, the investigative bodies. No one does that. That is maturity. An individual commits a crime or alleged crime, he has to face the music. Find people that we vote for to represent us both in parliament and at the executive level, massing up in support of an individual who is alleged to have committed a crime. Clearly, if it's not an infantile conduct, I don't even see what else amounts to an infantile conduct.
Do the people realize that this is really infantile? I'm sure you've had...
If they do not, then clearly whoever is leading them is worse than the people.
Well, the people need jobs. They are tied to the apron strings of these politicians. They give them handouts. They tell them what to do. They do it.
So clearly you're telling me this is a systematic rot in our system. And being a systematic rot, clearly it means that we do not just need to uproot them from the political structures. We have to really tackle our socioeconomic factors very seriously, because really it is the bottom line of this course. That is what you are telling me, literally.
Finally, the IGP had said, is on record, that the political thuggery or terrorism, as you put it,
as is the best way of describing this,
is a political problem and not a legal problem. So if we try to approach it from a legal perspective, we may be getting it wrong. Do you agree with him?
I entirely disagree. And as I've already laid out, if a person masses up to a polling station and you arrest that person, I mean, if it is illegal or lawful for the person to mass up there to propagate all kinds of unlawful conduct, and you arrest that person and prosecute that person, which part of this is political? Is it political simply because you are enforcing the laws as it exists? Clearly, this is a person who is not thinking. Clearly. Ask again, is it political that a person who has unlawfully massed up in the streets, causing mayhem, without necessarily even having to go to a police station, causing mayhem to detract all of us from doing the rightful things, and you arrest such persons and you prosecute them? How is this political? The person may be wearing a political party shirt or otherwise, so what? How does that make it political when instead of legal? The problem is this. As I've said, because these security agencies cater to the whims of the politicians, they rather claim that the conduct of the unlawful conduct of their persons are indeed of anyone indeed wearing a political shirt is politicized, just so to insulate themselves from arresting and prosecution and prosecuting these persons. And clearly, this is wrongful. We need to build a good nation. We need to build a democratic country. We need to ensure that rule of law works to its perfection. The only way we can do this is to ensure that, as we always say, that no one is above the law. And it is for that reason that I would rather call for the entire immunity clauses in favor of the president to be removed. Because I believe that if we remove the immunity clauses of the president and indeed the vice president, it will help us tackle these matters, because when the top is rotten, it affects the entire thing below it.
Counsel, thank you very much indeed. He's made two suggestions. One, he says he doesn't agree with the president that we need a new legislation or set of legislations to tackle political thuggery or hooliganism or vigilantism. Two, he is advocating that the immunity clauses should be taken, or indemnity clauses should be taken off, so that we can, like in other places, when a president sits, whether it's this president, a president to come or a president before them, and they have offended the law, or they have sat and supervised the offending of the law, they be dealt with. Let me